everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you might be joining us from in the world today. My name is Meg Alexander. I am, as always, honored and excited to get to host another Power to Fly Chat and Learn virtual event. Now, today we're going to be talking about building a personal brand and how important that can be in your job search. So, before we dive in and introduce you to our fabulous speaker today, I do just want to real quickly go over a couple quick housekeeping rules. First up, this looks real scary. It's a big wall of legalese, but it's just our code of conduct. And what it boils down to is just don't be a jerk. Okay. As long as we operate from a place of kindness and respect, it's pretty hard to go wrong from there. But if you have questions on this, please feel free to DM me. You can find my name, Meg Alexander, in the drop down in your Zoom group chat. And if you got any other deep questions on this, feel free to reach out to our help desk. It's hi@powertofly.com. Now, this is going to give you kind of a lay of the land, how things are going to go for today's event. This is especially helpful and important if maybe today is your first Power to Fly event. And if that's the case, then hi, welcome. We're so happy to meet you. Now, the love is no less real for my frequent flyers. So thank you so much to everybody who's joining us today. I love seeing all of your familiar names and faces and avatars in the chat. So thank you all so much for joining us. Pardon me, y'all. All right, so the biggest thing to know about Power to Fly events is participation. So we want to make it easy for y'all to jump in any way you want to do so. I always recommend to turn your cameras on just to share your smiling, maskless faces with us safely. But y'all, there is no need to be Instagram perfect, okay? I think I'm on day like 4 of the dry shampoo messy bun combo. So whether you're coming to us from a corner office or your living room couch, it makes no difference to us, okay? We don't want you to stand on ceremony. We just want to meet you where you are. Now, if you don't want to join in with your camera, that's totally fine. No worries there. You are always encouraged to chime up in the chat if you'd like. In fact, I see Rob's starting to tag out people in there as well. So if you'd like to, y'all, head over to that group chat. Let us know where you're joining us from today. I'm coming to you from Toledo, Ohio. This is land that belonged to the Fox, Kickapoo, and Potawatomi tribes in my area. So if you would like to share whose land you're on, please feel free to do so. Now, the last thing that I like to highlight is we are recording today. We're also live streaming to YouTube. Hi, YouTube. And what that means for all of you is you don't have to take notes. You get to sit back, relax, enjoy the conversation I'm about to have with Sue, and not worry if you miss a resource that's listed or a link that's shared. Now, what's going to happen is everybody that registered for today's event, whether you're able to join us or not, everybody is going to get a rewatch email from Power to Fly in about 4 to 5 business days. So like next week, you'll get an email from us when we post this recording live on powertofly.com. Now, if you haven't checked us out there, I very much recommend you do. That's where all of our like mother load of free resources lives. But absolutely would love to see y'all explore not just the website, but also our YouTube channel. So we've got a couple, we've got some kind of our greatest hits are posted on the YouTube channel. If you want to see this or rewatch this or share this sooner than next week, you can always head to the YouTube channel. The videos are usually posted by the end of business today, and you can share right from there. Oh, y'all, I'm loving this. We've got Valerie joining in Seattle, aka Duwamish Land. Thank you, Valerie. Maria from Sunnyvale, California. Sunnyvale, I thought Sunnyvale was where Barbie was from. We've got Kelly's coming from Botswana. We've got Meg from Plano, Texas. Hi, Meg. Mila is in the Philly area. Love it. Lubbock, Texas with Crystal. Thank you, Crystal. Ipsita, thank you so much for joining us. She's joining us from the Chicago suburbs. I love seeing all y'all friendly faces joining in here. So thank you, everybody. All right, now, as we go through today's event, I do want to remind you that obviously you took time out of your day to be here with us for the live recording. We want to reward you for that. So if you are here and you have questions, ask early, ask often. That is the best way to make sure that we get any question of yours addressed today. Now, before I introduce you to today's speaker, I'm very excited to introduce you to SoftwareOne. Now, I'm not sure if y'all know about SoftwareOne. They've been a Power to Fly partner for a long time, at least 6 years, because they've been with the company as long as I have. And super excited to kind of get y'all a little bit more info on SoftwareOne and who they are as a company. Now, SoftwareOne is they're leading in cloud solutions. Hold on here. I just lost my little blurb that I was in there. There we go. All right. So SoftwareOne is a global leader in software and cloud solutions They are redefining how organizations build, buy, and manage everything in the cloud. By helping clients to migrate and modernize their workloads and applications, and in parallel to navigate and optimize the resulting software and cloud changes, SoftwareOne unlocks the value of technology. Now, I'm really excited to talk a little bit more about SoftwareOne, but I'm especially excited to do that in light of our guest speaker today. So Sue Ruiz is joining us. Sue is a talent acquisition partner for SoftwareOne Academy in the Americas. She has been based in Costa Rica for over a decade of experience leading recruitment across the Americas. Sue specializes in strategic sourcing and developing inclusive talent pipelines that support long-term growth. By partnering closely with stakeholders, Sue aligns hiring strategies with business objectives and lead initiatives that elevate both team performance and organizational success. Sue, I'm really excited for you to talk to our audience today. What else would you like our audience members to know about you before we dive in more on personal branding?
Well, thank you very much for the introduction, Meg. I think you said, most of it, but I'm really happy to be here. I actually have also a career in learning and development. I was a trainer for a while. So I love to do this. I love being in contact with people, transferring somehow my learnings, right? The knowledge that I have. So that's what I'm looking forward to today.
Excellent. Very, very excited. All right, so we've got a ton of questions today that we're going to try and get to, but like I said, y'all, you are here live, and we want to make sure that we reward you for the time that you spend with Power to Fly and SoftwareOne. So if you have questions, ask them. Ask early, ask often. I've got eyes in the chat. And if at any point you have a question that you would like to be raised, but you want to be kept anonymous, just DM your question to me. You can find my name, Meg Alexander, in the dropdown in your Zoom group chat. Okay, let's start with personal branding and professional identity. Let's pretend that we're talking to somebody who's just landed on the planet 3 minutes ago and has never heard the phrase personal brand. When someone says the phrase personal brand, what do you think of? What are we talking about when we're talking about building a personal brand for someone?
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So personal branding is more like, the message you give, like how people can see you, right? See yourself. So we're going to be talking a lot about being authentic, right? Making an impact, right? So I'll give you also in my presentation some great tips to do that. So that will be like a very short summary, right? On what personal branding is.
Awesome. Okay. All right. I know you have some slides you want to share with us, so the stage is yours. Feel free.
Excellent. All right. So let me share my screen. All right. So can you see my screen there?
Looks great.
Yes. Excellent. All right. So, well, thank you everyone for being here. And let's get started with what is personal brand. And the first phrase that you see there is that some people think it is just a logo, but it's really your footprint. So that is a keyword that I want you to keep in mind. So as I told you before, like, how people see you. So think about this, or what do people remember about you as well? So if you think of those two questions, it will be easier, right, to think of that first definition of personal brand. So it will be more like how others describe you after a conversation you have with someone, or your performance in an interview, or the work you do in a project, or even people viewing your profile. So that is personal branding. So let me give you some tips to start. So first of all, it is important to differentiate yourself from the rest. So be you, being authentic with intention and with a specific purpose. That is key. Okay. Number two, gain a good reputation, even if you don't have any experience. So with small actions such as fulfilling commitments, being on time, working in a team, or showing just willingness to learn, with this, you're already building a solid professional image. So keep that in mind. Pay attention to the details. Maybe with small actions, you can do a lot. You don't need to do big things. All right. And make yourself visible. How do you do this? Let the world know who you are. And you know that doing great things is awesome, but if no one sees it, it's like it never happened. So an example of this is to post your projects or learning moments on LinkedIn. We're gonna be talking about LinkedIn a lot today. So that will be the main tool. You can join student events like this one, for example. So you already started, you have never done it before. This is a good start. And the recommendation is to let your work be seen. All right, so let's move to the next one. And I'll give you some recommendations. Let's make it a particle with 4 easiest steps to build your brand. So number 2, discover your superpower. I like that word, right? We can call it any way, but if you think of a superpower, it will be also easy to identify what's your biggest strength, right? So what makes you special as well? What makes you unique? So for example, I can have any profession. For example, I don't know, I can be a teacher, a psychologist, or an engineer. But let's say that you love organizing events as well, right? Let's say that that's part of your hobbies or your passion. So I can mention that also in my personal brand, LinkedIn or the resume, because that shows leadership. So we're going to be talking about a lot about the skills, soft skills that you have, because that can represent very well your personal branding. Maybe you're good at solving problems, for example, connecting with people or creating solutions. So identify that you can contribute, and even if you don't have years of experience. Number 2, your online profile also speaks for you. Make sure your networks reflect who you are professionally. So LinkedIn, again, is key. Add your trainings, your courses, your projects, your skills. Number 3, elevator pitch. If you have never heard about that term, it's how you introduce yourself with impact in 30 seconds. All right. So maybe you can actually create your elevator pitch, write it down, and you have 30 seconds to introduce yourself. So what would you say if you had the chance? So mention who you are, your passion, and how you want to contribute. So those 3 things will be also key to create your elevator pitch. If you want an example, I can say, well, hello, I'm Sue, an industrial engineering student. I love optimizing processes, and I'm looking for opportunities where I can apply my knowledge in logistics. Something short, but it tells a lot. Number 4, make connections that add up, strategic networking. So it is not a matter of having a lot of contacts or a lot of followers like nowadays, right, in social media, but to have the right ones in the professional field, to have the right ones. So if you participate in job fairs, you will get to know recruiters, leaders, important people that you can connect with. And then also I would recommend to get involved in talks, webinars, again, right? Like events like this one, it will be key, because now you know my name. You can look ahead, you can go and look for me on LinkedIn, then we can connect, and you will get all the news from SoftwareOne as well, and that will be also great, right? To have good connections on your LinkedIn. Now, let's move forward with some quick tips for a strong LinkedIn profile. And I know that maybe I'm not developing this a lot, but maybe with the questions that you have and that we already have prepared for you, we will go deeper on that. So some recommendations very quickly. Use a clear photo. So no screenshots, no selfies, or cropped pictures from a birthday party. All right. So use photos with good lighting, facing front. You can see actually an example here in my presentation from Gabriela Rojas. And that's a good picture, professional, with a natural smile if you want. Number 2, strong headline. So what do you want to be known for? And I give you a very similar example, psychology student, passionate about organizational well-being. All right, so, and you can notice that we always say passionate about this, looking forward to this, heading to this, all right? Write your story as well, who you are, what drives you, what you're looking for. An example of this, administration student, interested in HR and internal communications. So very importantly, I can be an administrative student or business administration student, but I'm interested in this specifically in HR. I love organizing events and learning, something like that. Include all experience. I always tell this to, junior talent, even volunteer work counts. Because they say, well, I have never worked before. Yes, but you have been involved in projects at the university. Maybe you have done some volunteering work. So that's important too. So an example, I supported 200 or more than 200 attendees at the university job fair, because you volunteer in a job fair. Show your education and highlight also the achievements. List all the skills, specifically soft skills that you have, and the tools that you have learned about. For example, Excel, Canva, like those kind of tools that sometimes are additional. Maybe they were not part of your career, but that is also key in your personal branding. Ask for referrals, recommendations build trust. So you can get some recommendations from professors if you're a university student, or if you have some job experience from previous managers or leaders. And share what inspires you, posts, causes, or wins that reflect your values. All right, almost done, Meg. So now let's introduce a little bit of AI, artificial intelligence, and some of the tools that probably you have heard about so far, Copilot, ChatGPT. Probably I will mention a lot of ChatGPT because it's the tool that I use the most. How can AI help build my personal branding? Well, AI can clarify your message. Tools like ChatGPT can help you write your bio, profile summaries, enhance your wording, for example. So this is a tip that I use and I love it. And it's like when I have to write a message, I write it with my own words, okay? Exactly what I need to. But sometimes I feel like it is too simple. So how can I enhance like the structure, the grammar, maybe the tone? So I can ask ChatGPT or any of these tools to use a specific tone for this. So in that case, I can then enhance my message. Number 2, boost your visibility. Use keywords from job descriptions to help recruiters find you. So this is a great tip, and maybe we can go deeper on that. But one of the things that you can do is take the job description that you saw, that you read, and that you're interested in applying, and take your profile, your resume, and then ask AI to match those two and extract the keywords that you need to enhance your profile, something like that. And you will see great results. Number three, create a stronger content. AI can help you draft and polish posts you want to make on LinkedIn, for example. So ask these tools exactly what you need to. So if the first result was not the one that I was looking for, then ask a different question, and that's how you can get better results. Number four, improve outreach and networking. I told you that before, connect with people, right? Draft messages to recruiters or professionals that sound also natural and personal. Don't be afraid of reaching out to people, okay? So that's why we have a chat or email in this kind of tools like LinkedIn. And AI tools make you more competitive. So being fluent with the use of these AI tools makes you more competitive in today's job market. Why? Because you're gonna be able to enhance your curriculum, your resume, your profiles, and that would be my recommendations for now. Now that we have learned how to improve our personal branding in our resumes and profiles, let's ace our interviews with personal branding too. So you can be thinking like, is that possible? Is personal branding important in an interview as well? Well, yes. And I'll give you some quick tips. Preparation is key. All right, so know the company, do some research before, update your resume, or practice with a friend. That is key. Show your best self as well. So share short, real stories that show your strengths as well. Be authentic. That's important. And make an impact on the day of the interview. Dress right, stay positive. And if you need a second to think, do it, right? Take that second. You don't have to invent something that you don't know. So that's important. So hope this material and tips can help you enhance your personal branding. And let's move forward with the questions.
Excellent. I'm very excited. Okay. All right, let's start off. So we've kind of level set a bit and talked about like, what we mean when we're talking about personal branding. If you are somebody who has, let's say, limited budget and limited personal time, what are some of the most effective strategies for building a personal brand? So, I'm thinking people who have, I'm honestly, most of the time I'm thinking of working parents because like you're trying to keep small people alive and also create a personal brand. So if somebody is trying to do this with limited amount of time or resources, where should they start? Where should they focus?
Excellent. So the best part of it is that you don't need to spend any money to build a strong personal brand. About limited time, I would say that you will need to separate some time to do it, right? While we were talking about the use of the AI tools, sometimes it's good to practice a lot, right? So you can get better on using these AI tools that will make your life easier. So maybe at the beginning, it will take a little bit of time. If let's say that you don't have a resume at all, you need to start from scratch. However, there are also tools that can help you create the resume from scratch. But separate sometimes. So if you tell me I have limited time, or I work a lot during the week, at the end of the day I'm tired, I don't have time to do this. Well, separate 30 minutes today, 20 minutes tomorrow, right? So at the end, I think you will have the time to do it. But money, you don't have to worry about that. So just also start showing up where it matters, like LinkedIn again, in conversations, following professionals. We already mentioned that, but that will be part of the effective strategies that will be mentioning today.
Like that. Okay. And I think you're right. This is one of those situations where it doesn't have to cost money. It's more about like spending your time wisely, I would say.
Yeah.
Thinking about who you're asking for these kinds of answers or these kinds of opinions about you. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. All right, we are getting some really great questions from the chat, so I'll be adding those in as we get to the various sections. So if you've got questions, y'all, please keep sending them in. These are great, great questions. All right, what do you think are some of the essential components of that portfolio that you want people to build to showcase their personal brand? Obviously, this is going to change depending on, like what kind of role they're in or what sort of industry. But what do you think are some of the core components if you are trying to build a portfolio that reflects that personal brand?
Excellent. So sometimes you don't know like where to start, right? And there are, yes, essential components for a portfolio. However, let's start with where you are going, right? And not where you have been. So this will give a clear idea to recruiters and leadership also of what you want to accomplish. So that will be, I believe, the most important component of a portfolio. So start where you are going, okay? Again, update your LinkedIn, your bio or portfolio to reflect the direction you're heading. So that's very important. For example, if you need to reinvent also on those changes and help people see how your past experience supports the new path. I'll give you an example. If you are shifting from teaching to corporate training, spotlight your ability to explain concepts clearly and engage an audience. And finally, I would say to tell your story with confidence always.
I like that. I mean, it is one of those things that you tell people to speak with confidence, and a lot of times people don't because they are unsure of how they're telling their own story. And I think that's one of my favorite tips is like just have confidence in yourself. You are you. No one else gets to be you. And so you're the only one that gets to make that attempt. So like, own that. Make sure that people recognize that you're trying to be the best version of yourself, not the best version of someone else.
Exactly. Another thing that we can add is like it's not about doing more, right? It's about being clear and consistent with what you bring to the table. So at the end, as you said, like being well, I said that before, like being authentic, right? So and just don't look to do a lot of things or big things, right? Just being clear and consistent in what you want to achieve, where you are going again.
Yeah. Okay, I like this. All right. So let's say you are applying to the kinds of jobs that don't have, a portfolio or like a massive application process. How can we make sure that we are showcasing our personal brand just sort of as a baseline? Like how do you make sure that somebody is projecting the images they want to project, basically?
Excellent. I mentioned that before also, and just write it down. Showcasing the strengths, the skills that you have, the most important skills, a little bit of your personality, why not? That is key when adding your personal brand to any job that you apply. Because we were talking about keywords, that's important that you match those keywords of the job description to your resume. But I believe if you want to start from the very beginning, your personal brand has to showcase those skills, those strengths that you have. Again, telling a clear, consistent story about who you are and what makes you stand out. I mentioned that in the presentation, differentiate yourself from the rest. For example, instead of just writing responsible for onboarding in one of your responsibilities in previous jobs, you can say something like welcome and train more than 20 new hires, creating a smoother process in less time, right? So you're actually adding results in the same phrase, right, of the responsibilities that you have. So focus on that, focus on the results, focus on the skills, the impact, show the impact, and give your work a human touch, right? I
Yeah.
think that will bring some on the you know, that you can show the I forgot the word in English, but to be authentic. That's what we are
Yeah.
looking for. Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay. All right. So let's say, we've done a lot of the work, we've built up a personal brand for ourselves, we feel comfortable. How often should something like this be updated?
Okay, so a good habit that you can have is to check every 6 months. But I would say it's better to check anytime your goals or direction start to shift.
Okay.
So let's say that not in 6 months, but in 2 months, I learned something new. So I will go back, let's say I completed a certification. So I will go back to my resume, my LinkedIn, and I will update right away. Why not, right? So every time you have something new in your life going on that is key, important, and they will add up to your professional skills and professional experience, go ahead and update the material, right? You don't have to start from scratch. It's not like I need to, take the resume, erase it, and then do one new again. No, just refresh the parts that you need to, or that no longer fit who you are, where you are going. I may have some job experiences in the past, maybe at the very beginning, the first experience that I had, that it doesn't match where I'm going right now. So I can actually just leave that aside from my resume if I need to. Okay, just be careful with that, because I believe that every job experience, we can take some advantages from there, right? New learnings and things that can help us in the current jobs or what we are looking for. But if it is something that really, really don't match with what I'm looking for, then just keep it aside. Also, I can give you an example of your headline. For example, if it says just bachelor's in marketing, but you have already taken some projects or completed some projects or done some freelancing jobs or temporary jobs, then you can update just the bachelor's in marketing for marketing specialist, helping brands grow through content and strategy. So it sounds more powerful at the end.
Yeah, I like this. That's one of the things that strikes me a lot is how much of it is not necessarily rephrasing, but like focusing on action words. I love the advice to add figures and like statistics to your resume. So like, yeah, like
Numbers,
how much you
percentages.
trained or how fast, how much you improved a process or something like that.
Mhm.
I love advice like that because, processes and language can change from role to role, but numbers never lie. So it's a lot easier to be like, oh yeah, I see you increased productivity 75% at your old role. How did you do that? Like,
Exactly.
you want to put in stuff in there that people are going to ask questions about. They'll be curious, they'll want to know more.
Exactly.
All
Agree.
right. So as we are trying to, stay current, not just with, what's going on, like industry changes, all kinds of things, but also stay current with our personal brand. How do you make yourself stand out and feel fresh when it kind of feels like everybody is trying to stand out?
Mhm.
Is there anything that you've seen be particularly successful? Anything that you've tried on your own personal brand that you really got good results from?
Mhm. I'm a talent acquisition partner, a recruiter, so I have interviews almost every day, right? So when you see people that are themselves, right, and with intention as well, they want to do well in the interview, but they come to the interview very relaxed, with a smile. Um, they come prepared as well, like they prepare already some questions, they did their research, they are curious also, and you mentioned that word that is important, and they just don't tell us what we need to hear, but they go beyond that. I would say that that will make you stand out and feel fresh. Be yourself. Share what you are learning, and don't be afraid also to evolve, right? So an example, let's say that you took a course in Excel, right? So then you can mention that in the interview, or add that as a post on LinkedIn. But that sounds a little bit appealing, and with that passion that we want to see, right? So for example, saying, never thought this Excel trick would save me so much time. It is a game changer. So showing that enthusiasm, I believe, will make you also stand out. Inside a company, also, once you are hired, you're there with already your responsibilities, your tasks. Visibility also come from small actions. So sharing wins in team channels, offering to present a quick tip to the team or to the global team, if there is one, or even just posting helpful content on internal platforms. I have learned to do that because I used to, I have never done it before, or maybe in previous companies, they didn't teach us, to do that, or that was important. But now I know it is important. So it's not about being famous. I don't want to be famous, but it's about showcasing, right? What you are learning, and that again will make you stand out. So yes, that's the key, is to let others see your growth and ideas in action, right? And I wrote something here that it says, like, don't stand by with arms crossed like that, right? Like everything is happening, and yes, I got the job already, so that's fine. So keep on moving, right? And take action on all these wins, achievements, goals that you have.
I love that. I love that advice. Okay. If you are somebody who, LinkedIn's been around for a while now, but I recall when LinkedIn was just brand new. If you are somebody who's been around for a while, but maybe hasn't really been very active on the platform, what do you recommend people do if they are not used to actually utilizing LinkedIn and treating it like a social platform? In what ways should people kind of go about if they're trying to rebrand or become more active on LinkedIn? What are some of the ways they should do that?
Yes. If you start using LinkedIn, you will see that there are a lot of things you can do. Let's think of that as social media, right? When you like a page, right? You start following the page, or the person, or the influencer. And then maybe the influencer will post a link that you can go to a specific web page and, I don't know, buy some nice things. So it will be something like that. I would say it that way. So you go in there and just try everything that you see there. There are a lot of links. You will see a lot of connections that you can do. So start from there. If you feel then like start sharing stories, maybe that are personal, but enough also to connect to other people, like interesting things that you have learned, or challenges that you have had, and maybe a good learning from that challenge, a lesson, a turning point. So everything that you can show, and how it connects to your work or your profession, that would be great. So start from there. I don't know if that is a great advice, but think of that if you don't know the tool very well, like it is social media, and that you can showcase all your skills there. So posting, following good pages, companies that you're interested in, I would say so. And then try to apply some of the tips, getting some help from AI, to improve your profile, your bio, your summary, also the summary for each job experience that you have. We recommend that you use also bullet points with the main responsibilities or tasks that you had. So yes, give it a try. Don't be afraid of using this tool. And yes, I hope that this tip can help you. Yes, so it's not just about oversharing neither. It's not that you have to like every day, right? Every second sharing things, but being constant, right? With that. And yeah, would be my advice.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Now, all right. So we've kind of talked about if you're gonna revive or change up your LinkedIn usage a little bit. One of the times I feel like a lot of people tend to revisit LinkedIn is if they are either in a job search or if they're considering a pivot. I feel like that is, to at least from my perspective, that's when I hear more people saying like, well, I just got back into LinkedIn and blah blah blah. If that is the way you are using LinkedIn, like if you are in the middle of a job search, like trying to launch one or trying to figure out if you want to pivot to something else, what are some of the ways that you can use LinkedIn to launch that awareness? I know it used to be a very big deal to be like, oh, I'm like, you never wanted to anyone to know that you were looking for work because it was like, it was very weird, right? It was like 90s dating rules almost. But if you are somebody who's in that position now, what are some of the ways you can use LinkedIn to help in that job search or in that pivot?
All right. So yes, if you're rebranding or changing right industries, the key is to refresh your story. If you already have one thing there, right? Go ahead, as I told you, maybe every 6 months or every time you have a change in careers, refresh your story and not just the job titles, right? So let's start with the headlines, then the summary, again, show where you're going, not just where you have been. An example could be if again, of a simple title, former teacher, right? Also try something more thought of, right? A learning and development professional, helping teens grow through engaging training, something like that in your headline. So that would be a good tip to refresh that. Update your photo and banner, right? So take a look at the photo and with the tips that I gave you at the beginning, check if that is the correct photo. And the banner, something simple, right? Because that will be also the first impression of the people that will be checking your profile on LinkedIn. Something clear, right? A friendly headshot and a banner that reflects your new path, okay? Be active also, but keep it simple. And again, and I know that I'm repeating some of the things, but it applies. Comment on posts, right? Try to be active on that, share things you're learning. Again, write short posts about your journey, okay? And yes, and sometimes people think that also they need a website, right? Or something, right? For rebranding. So yes, I have the LinkedIn, I have my resume, but then I think I need a website and not really, right? A website is a nice to have. Let's say that you created a website in a project in a university, so you know how to do it, perfect. It will be a nice to have. But LinkedIn can be your personal brand hub as well. So if you use it well, that could be enough.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I was copying questions down from the chat because Angelica's been asking some really good ones. So thank you all for keeping on sending those questions. No, I like this a lot. And I all right. So as we're going through, we've talked a little bit about, you know, if you might be in the middle of a transition or a pivot. A lot of times people are curious about highlighting transferable skills when they shift to a different industry. Is there any way that you recommend people try and assess their transferable skills themselves?
Yes, I would say that focus on the skills and experiences that apply across industries. So I think that is the easiest way. If I think of my strengths and the skills that I have, I'll mention communication, problem solving, teamwork, or managing projects. I would say to start from there, because that will match both industries or any industry actually, right? So look for those strengths that you have, look for those skills. So for example, if you're moving from retail to marketing, highlight your customer services skills and how you understand what customers want, for example. I actually applied all my skills that I learned when I worked in customer service. That was my first job a long time ago, but I'm still applying those skills. So mention that when you are shifting different industries. Let's see what else. Pick stories that show you what you have learned, you know, the new things, or emphasize also how you approach challenges, not just what you did. So again, results, new learnings, how you overcame challenges or a problem or difficult situation. So an example that I can give you, in my last job, I led a team through a busy season by organizing tasks and keeping everyone motivated. And keeping everyone motivated skills. I'm excited to bring to project management, something like that, right? So you mentioned the challenge that you had, and you mentioned the result at the end, right? And how you overcame that. So the key also is to connect your past experience to the new role's needs and show that you are ready to grow. So that's a good advice for that.
Okay. Now we got a lot of questions early on. So thank you y'all for sending those in. Kelly had written in with an addendum to this question as well. So if we are talking more specifically about candidates over 50, or let's go for me, over 45, who are, you know, either people with, I'm thinking like people with non-traditional work histories, people who've been part-time or self-employed, things like that. What are some of the best strategies you can recommend for these people? Because this is a lot of the time, these are the kinds of people that come to these events because they're like, yeah, that's great, but I wasn't working full-time for the last 25 years. I was doing part-time work, or, you know, fill in the blank. So does any of your advice change if you're talking to a more experienced worker, or somebody who has a non-traditional work history?
Yes, I would say like it is always good to be proud of your experience, even if you had that gap. So I will tell you, you don't need to mention that gap. If you get to an interview, if someone consider you a recruiter, you know, to start a interview process, be proud of that experience and focus on your strengths again. And I believe it's very similar to the tip that I gave you about changing industries. It's something similar. If you focus on your strengths, if you focus on your skills, it will be great. So maybe mentioning adaptability, again, problem solving, leadership, highlight those skills that you've gained from all kinds of works, from previous works that you've had. And yes, I would say that showcase recent accomplishment. So I believe there's something key there also. You have that gap. However, during that gap, it's important to see and to know if you have been active also in our other things. So most of the people that I have interviewed or known that have stopped working or they did a career break, they have done something more. Well, I stopped doing this, but then I started taking some virtual courses, right? Because I had the time already. Maybe they were dedicating their times to a specific situation, right? Maybe a family situation, so they couldn't work. But at the end, they had some extra time to keep on learning new things. So mention that. Do not mention do not mention the gap. Mention what you accomplished during that time. If you did some volunteering or consulting or some freelancing during that time, that is also essential for the recruiters to know. And yes, and the networking, right? Like if you have time still, like I'm not active, but let's use LinkedIn once in a while, right? To see what's new, right? Let's read some articles. Let's keep being active on that and building your networking.
Love that. Okay. So Kelly had written in asking, could you give LinkedIn profile advice to someone who's a bit more senior? I have 20 years of experience. Should I still have jobs from 15 years ago listed on my LinkedIn? I think this is a really good question because I also have a really wild work history that goes really far back. So let's talk about this. Like if you are somebody who is 20 years into a career, should you still have stuff that old on your LinkedIn? Is it better to just have it there? Or should it be something that you jettison if it no longer kind of goes with your brand?
Exactly. There are two scenarios. You can just take the resume. Let's say that you're not applying to a specific job yet, but take it and just leave the last years, I don't know, maybe the last 5 years of job experience, or the ones that you think that can help you with the goal that you have, right? Again, where you are going, when I'm heading. So if I'm heading to a leadership role, right, that's my goal. So I'm gonna take the job experiences and the descriptions of that, and I will leave that on my resume. So yes, take away maybe the ones that were at the very beginning, right? And leave the ones of the, I don't know, it depends on the
specifics,
yeah. Exactly. If it is, I don't know, 15 years, so then let's take the last 5-7 years, right, of job experience. That takes me also to the length of a resume, and that applies to LinkedIn as well. So when we talk about a resume, we can say 1 page. That is actually one of the standards in 2025, just 1 page. But it is recommended when you have less than 10 years of experience to use just 1 page. So that will give you probably an idea of how, the length of the information and the resume or the LinkedIn that you can have. And 2 pages if you have more extensive experience. So try to fit everything in 2 pages, no more than that if it is more than 10 years. And again, try to focus on the skills and the job experiences that match your targets, right? Now, if you apply to a specific job, then let's try to customize the job, my resume or the LinkedIn profile to the job that I'm applying to. So again, extract the keywords and let's see if my resume has those keywords so the recruiters can see them clearer, right? Or even quickly when they are checking the profiles and the resumes. So I hope that I answered the question. Not really sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, of course.
Those would be some tips.
Yeah. Let's see. This one I think is probably going to be more opinion than anything else. Lisa had asked, do recruiters see freelancing as a negative?
Not at all.
Yeah,
Not at all. It's key. Like sometimes on interviews, they don't add the freelance job on the resume. So we're talking about, many things that I already checked. And then they come up with that, like, or I ask a specific question about a skill. And they say, well, yes, oh, yes, I did some freelancing. And they had really good, responsibilities and good learnings, or maybe they completed a big project. when doing freelancing, and I'm like, okay, add that's important. Imagine that we mentioned also volunteering work. So volunteering work is also key, is essential as well, freelancing.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we've got about 5 minutes left. So obviously we want to leave a little bit of time to wind down and talk a little bit more about SoftwareOne. But before we get done here, let's see. We have another one. Oh, yeah, okay, we did have a really good question earlier. All right, how would you advise somebody with multiple interests and passions who wants to leverage all of them to build a powerful personal brand? For example, this person said, I'm a passionate storyteller with a strong background in operations management, trained in cybersecurity GRC, and want to build a career as a project manager in tech. How do I leverage all these different skill sets to set myself apart? So I thought this was a really good kind of lead in. A lot of people talked about suggesting like Chat GPT to help break down their experiences. But if this person brought this question just to you, what would you say to them?
And I believe that the headline that you read and how he, I think it's he, right?
I think it's a she actually.
She wrote it. I believe that's a good headline, a good summary, right? Because I can see their skills, passion, and where you are heading. So as you said, and I was going to say that at the very beginning, like, okay, I will get some help from ChatGPT and see how I can organize all these skills and passions that I have, right? And how I can introduce that or present that to others. So give it a try. But I would say that the way you presented it, I agree. I liked it. It's very appealing.
I like it too.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. We also got a question from Angelica. Angelica wants to know if you're pivoting careers, do you recommend keeping your original job titles or renaming them to one that reflects the role that you're seeking? I thought this was
Totally.
interesting because I'd seen this when people moved from I talked to people that moved from like education into finance. And so since none of the job titles basically line up, they had changed some of their old job titles to reflect what they would have been if they'd held that role in a financial setting instead.
Mhm.
Is this something you recommend?
Totally, yes. And again, the first thing that we see is headline summary. So in there, you need to refresh or customize to what you're heading now, which is a total different industry. Obviously, if you have some education on finance, keep it there, right? But if you took some other courses related to the new industry or the new profession, include that at the very beginning, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because I feel like a lot of the time when we're having these conversations, we get down to a lot of stuff that's either like kind of personal opinion, you know what I mean? Like when recruiters are going through these things, like we'd like to say that industry wide, most people do blah, 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 but everybody's kind of got a slightly different way they do it.
Mhm.
But I also think it's really interesting to me is that a lot of these questions kind of go to the point that like you're trying to create something that someone is going to look at and immediately understand you. So a lot of times when we're talking about like how more mature candidates or more experienced candidates have really long resumes, and this one is a really popular one. A lot of people want to know, like, why do people get kind of like how do I put it? Like I don't know, like they're intimidated or something. But it's like you're trying to make this the clearest, fastest pathway for that recruiter to see you in that role, right?
Uh-huh.
So it's not really about taking out things that would confuse or intimidate a recruiter. It's
Mhm.
just you're trying to make it as simple as possible. Pretend you're having to like have this conversation shouted across a canyon. That's like how tight you're trying to get down to here's what I'm trying to convey, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
Do you
Mhm.
agree with this? Do you think that it's something that is people need to understand that you're leaving a breadcrumb trail?
Exactly. So it's not about doing a lot or more or putting everything that I need over there, but being simple, using professional formatting as well, that it seems customized to what you really want that scheme, right?
Yeah.
And the keywords. I like keywords. When we recruiters, when we have a job description, we highlight the keywords, and that will help us go to the resumes and identify those keywords that we need. So that will be it. With that, you will be successful when doing a job search.
Yeah. All right, we are at the end of time for today, but I just want to take a second here and Sue, just tell you thank you for sharing your time with us and your expertise. There's a lot of prep work that goes in on the front, like on the back end of these events, and so we are incredibly grateful to you for joining us and sharing your experience as well as all of your knowledge with us. So thank you very, very much for today, Sue.
You're very welcome. I was really, really excited, really looking forward to this event. Now it's done, but I hope that you enjoy it, that I was clear enough. But if you still have questions, find me on LinkedIn and maybe I can, we can chat a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. All right, y'all. I do also want to extend a massive thank you to all of our attendees. Y'all just took 60 minutes out of your day to do something positive for yourself and your career, okay? I'm grateful that you come to these events because it means I have a job, but I'm even more grateful that you come to these events because you're doing something positive for yourselves, okay? So whether you are a little treat person or not, please listen to Meg, okay? Reward yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back, gold star, cookie, coffee drink. Maybe not Starbucks is all I'm saying. But whatever it is, y'all, please reward yourself. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. It is incredibly gratifying to see so many people want to, take time out of their day to do something positive for themselves. So thank you to everybody who showed up today. If this was your first Power to Fly event, I sincerely hope it will not be your last. And if this has been, anywhere from your second to your 400th, we are always, always incredibly happy to see all of you. So thank you to everybody that joined.
And now they
All
have
right, y'all.
a good story to share also, right? From
Yes,
today's event.
absolutely.
So take this story and post it.
Heck yes, go, y'all. Tell everybody that you've grown and learned with Power to Fly today. Go out and have a happy, healthy rest of your day, week, and weekend. And I can't wait to see you back here, hopefully